Hi, it's Carl Brower, and I'm standing next to the latest version of Revology's special Ford Mustangs. This one features all of the most recent developments that the company has undertaken. These include things like structural adhesive throughout the structure, also updated pedals, updated seats, and updated window regulators. So we're going to take a look at those things, but first we're going to enjoy trying this car out at Circuit Florida. I've not driven one of these on a closed course yet. I wasn't able to do that last time, so I'm looking forward to really experiencing this car without having to worry about, things like cross traffic and people in my way. Wow. You really feel like you're back in another era driving this car, from the sounds it makes. Not from the way it drives, though. Oh my God. It gathers speed so quickly. 710 horsepower. See, now the last one of these I drove was the 500 horsepower version. I did not drive the supercharged 710 horsepower version before. So, wow. You've just got to watch your speed because it gets there so quick. And yet, when it's time for slowing down, here we are. Oh my gosh. You can really... Holy. Okay. I'm hitting my braking zones way early because I'm going 100 miles an hour in what looks like a 1968 Mustang, but it's actually having no problem whatsoever slowing down. So it's tough for me to talk while driving this car. A combination of focus and fun. I just skipped third gear. There was no reason to use third gear on that straightaway because the car was pulling so hard. I just went right from second to fourth. All right, that was 100 miles an hour. 100 miles an hour on the straight here at Circuit Florida. And I still hit the brakes way too early. This is what's called being smart and having some reserve when you're driving somebody else's a third of $1 million plus car. And even with the amount of reserve I want to have and the amount of prudence I want to practice, I am going really fast and having an absolute blast. Wow. I'm learning the track and I'm getting a little more confidence, which is probably not a good thing because I don't want to go too fast in this car, but my goodness, it is such a well-behaved vehicle. I don't know how many people who own these cars are going to ever drive them on a closed course facility, but you really need to. If you're a Revology customer, either existing or new, take the time to get to a facility because you cannot appreciate all of the combination of historic styling and modern day capabilities on a public road. And I had a lot of fun on the public road that I drove this car, but you just can't really experience it, especially with the 710 horsepower engine. you need a track facility or you're just not going to experience what the car is capable of. Wow. So I have now traveled from Circuit, Florida, where I drove one of the fabulous Revology vehicles, to the Revology assembly plant here in Orlando, where I'm going to learn how these magical vehicles are built. At the Revology facility, and I'm watching them assemble these brand new vintage Mustangs where they build them from scratch. And right now we're seeing this one go together, and then combining the spot welding that these cars had originally with the structural adhesive that they add to them. And it's both of those factors that hold these cars together now. But I'm watching all the parts and the components that go into these cars come together, first individually where they're modified and made ready to be assembled, and then added to a complete body. And the body's assembled with the floor pan and the rocker panels and now the major body panel. And again, we're watching the spot welding right now, but that's in addition to, or an element that's added to with the structural adhesive. So both of them are in there to make the body that much stronger. So we were just watching some of the MIG welding on the seams, but we've also got the spot welding that you can see through some of these body panels that overlap. And then you've also got, of course, the structural adhesive across major body seams. So you've really got all three of those types of technologies leveraged to stiffen the bodies. Now remember, these cars use a much more advanced and much larger transmission than the original Mustangs. So you've got a wider tunnel here, a wider transmission tunnel underneath the vehicle, and they use those to accommodate the 10-speed Ford transmission. And they're working on putting that in right here at this stage of the bodywork. It's fascinating to see the car at this stage because while it's far from complete, you can already see the timeless styling. You can already see this timeless shape that everyone recognizes. I feel like you could throw lights on this car and start driving around without doing anything else to it, and everyone would stop and look at the car, not just because it's primer gray, but because it's this beautiful shape that everyone recognizes, even at this stage. We're seeing the vehicle at a much further stage of production, and the body is essentially done, and it's having a lot of the final work done on it, but it's on this rotisserie so that you can actually see the underside too here. And look at the beautiful details. Look at the underside of this car. I mean, it's unfortunate that people don't ever see the underside of these cars at this stage of production because they're gonna probably never be seen, or they're gonna have a bunch of stuff kicked up on them, or they're gonna be pans and a bunch of suspension. But this is a good look at the quality of the work that's going on here. This rotisserie allows us to see what this car looked like before assembly really and paint really started to happen. So now I'm standing in the sub-assembly section of the shop where they do a lot of the elements like maybe the windows or the taillights. A lot of these sub-assemblies go together before they're going to go on the vehicle, but they also do the leather work. And I was told that they've really got this down to a science where they'll get the leather and they'll stretch it out and put it under these lights to look for imperfections. And they know just where to lay the pattern to avoid any possible imperfections on any of these large pieces of leather so that only the best parts end up inside the car. What you're looking at right now is the vehicle as the body panels are going on, and they actually use protective tape on all the major sections and the seams between the body panels to make sure there's no damage. At this point, the car's been painted with very high quality paint, and they don't want any scratches or dings as the car comes together, so they protect it. And then after the body panels come together, the car is checked again, and it's actually noted. The gaps between body panels are noted, and make sure they're in spec. And if there's any reason that one of these panels isn't in spec, it's looked at again more carefully to address that. But there's a very tight tolerance that they have to meet. And after all the work is done, this is what the end product looks like, as you've seen in some of the other coverage I've done. This is a GT 500, one of my favorite Mustangs of all time. And it's under these bright lights where they make sure everything is perfect, and they also detail the car. And there's actually photos taken of the car at this point sent to the owner that says, look, your car's done. Here's some detailed shots of it. But you can see the level of light and inspection and detailing they can do in this final stage to basically make the car pristine and perfect before it goes to the first owner. All right, so here I am at the Revology assembly plant, and I'm going to be talking to Tom Scarpello, who really started this journey 11 years ago.
11 years ago.
And you probably couldn't have imagined exactly where you'd be 11 years later, but I can't believe you aren't pretty thrilled with it.
Well, we're really happy. I mean, the response has been phenomenal. The company's been growing steadily. We have 160 employees now, 2 facilities here in Orlando with a combined over 80,000 square feet. It's really exciting.
Well, I've just had a chance to kind of go through the facility with Tom, and I am super impressed by it. And it really does feel like a full-fledged automobile manufacturer. It does not matter what the era of the cars start at, and it doesn't matter what the volume is. One of those is a vintage era, and the other is relatively low volume, but it feels every bit a validated car company, like I've seen in plants across the US and in Europe. It's got all the same features and all the same capabilities, and it's hugely impressive, Tom.
Thanks, Carl. We appreciate it.
No, it's really impressive, and thank you for your time letting me experience this whole thing.
Our pleasure.